Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of our program. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle. And today we have with us Corey Bray, who is with LegalNature, LLC. Welcome to the program, Corey.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, you're welcome. And obviously from the name, you are in the legal profession. So tell us a little bit about your background and what your company focuses on doing.
Sure. So I started a few different online companies over the years, comparison shopping, in the travel space a little, in the financial space, and in the commercial insurance space. And the common theme through all of those businesses was the need for easily accessible legal help and or legal documents. In the early stages of any kind of startup or small business, legal costs can run pretty high as you're creating your initial documents. So I saw a common theme basically for that need across any small business, and that's where LegalNature came from. My dad has been an attorney since essentially the same month I was born. So I've been around the law in the legal profession my whole life. But the main go was basically just the need I had as a small business running manager, entrepreneur, just seeing the heavy cost, and it figured, is there a way to outweigh that cost? And that's where the idea for LegalNature came from.
Yeah, it's interesting how when you hear about the story behind what people were going through or how they started their business, so many times it's either a need they had and they couldn't find a solution to it, or they noticed a problem out there in the industry, whatever industry that is, and they're like, shoot, here's how we should fix that, and I noticed there's nothing out there. So you were looking at, here's a need that you had starting these businesses, and then now, you're expanding it out to other people. So I know that in your industry there are many competitors. You're not the only attorney in your niche or even online. So what do you find is your competitive advantage?
Our competitive advantage is we keep it simple. There's a lot of competitors. There's a lot of big names. They see it more as a service side. We are not trying to eliminate the lawyers, even though that's kind of what we're doing. Our competitors are going out and recruiting the lawyers and trying to work with them. We feel that there's a simplified document or form behind any common business need, any even formation need, even a personal need. And there's a lot of legal costs that can just be removed. I had a family member that needed to make a change to a will, and a lawyer charged them $2,500 to essentially change two clauses. I'm like, we could do that with the document. It shouldn't be that much money. So we're putting technology there. That's our main thing. We have a great technology team at LegalNature. I'm by no means a technology expert myself. I have a great partner that runs up that side of the business. But we see ourselves replacing what the lawyers have been doing historically, which is charging a lot of money for something that could be really replaced by technology.
Yeah, but let's even touch on the fact that today in business, technology is wonderful and it can help us do a lot of things, but it definitely is not going to replace the need for a human behind the technology. So that you still need that legal brain behind things to guide the process, and then technology can kind of help out with some of the easy things. And then the heavy lifting, there's always going to be things that, in the legal realm that you can't do through some of these technologies. You're going to need to have that attorney coming on board.
Sure. No, absolutely. And we feel with not only our technology team, but our legal team, the team that handles the research, we try to provide all the options or alternatives for whatever clause you could be putting into your contract. We want to make sure we have as much of it there so you can pick the option. But yeah, you're right. There are going to be things that are more complex. And, there's going to be the 5 to 7% of the market that just will not have a need. Their need will always be beyond what the technology offers. But that's not to say there are common documents. For example, if you just want to start a business, you're going to pay an attorney maybe $2,500 or so to start an LLC in California. If you can do that electronically and file with your articles of incorporation and handle your registered agent and everything with the Secretary of State, if you can do that for a smaller fee through technology, then why not save that $2,000 and use it to, hire your first employee or hire your first contractor or something?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that just is such a huge need these days, is to reallocate funds to, grow that business. You mentioned kind of scaling up and your partner. At what point in your business did you notice we're growing enough, we are scaling enough, and now I need to either, which came first, hiring someone or bringing on a partner?
Well, there was a lot of, over the years, I started this by myself originally. The partners came on later because I was putting out a lot of money. So essentially I was hiring from the get-go before a partner. And to some extent, when you're hiring a contractor, you're not getting the best brains behind it. They might just be trying to charge you whatever. Same is the case with a lawyer. They might be trying to overcharge you if they're not an in-house counsel. And the same thing happened with technology. And I realized, hey, I need to find someone that gets it and gets the vision and gets where I want to go with this, gets the business side, but can run with the technology and really own it. And that's something I don't have a background in. But my partner, he complements that very well for LegalNature and for other businesses that we've worked on together.
That's an interesting point, which is you could do, these days you hear a lot of press and recommendations about outsourcing and freelancing and all of those things. And there's a place for that. And so my question is, it seems like your statement just validated the fact that you moved quickly past the point where you needed to have a little freelance job or an outsourced job, and you needed to have that in-house partner technology person because they then are more vested to the project, the vision, the cause, the mission, and the whole organization because they're in-house. They're there.
Yes, and that's the case for me in other platforms I've built since 2006 and 2007 when I first got into the internet type businesses, working with people in India and people in Russia. They're going to just take direction from you, as you stated. I need this type of system to do X, Y, and Z. They're not going to build X, Y, and Z and think, oh, maybe he might want A, B, and C as well. So you need someone that really thinks like they own it. And when you're working with an outsourced contractor, that's never the case. They're just trying to bill hours. And a lot of people offshore stuff and talk about how great it is. Take it from me. I've failed so many times offshoring, and with LegalNature, unlike other companies that I might have had to fold in the past or sell off the technology, with LegalNature, we made a pivot decision to rebuild the technology stateside because not only is it going to be much better in everything that we've already discussed, but dealing with people's legal needs and businesses' legal needs, you just want that stuff in the right hands. So that's absolutely the case. You want to move away from that. It's in-house is always going to be better. So I understand too, though, in the early stages, you might not have the money and there's other costs that come into, for example, hiring an employee. You're going to have payroll tax. You're going to have healthcare insurance, things that you don't really have to have if you're just using contractors. And so some of those things small business owners tend to forget about. They go right to it and realize, oh no, I don't have the money for this, or it's eating into all of our revenue or whatnot. There's other things you have to think about as you decide. Are you going to have a partner, someone that you give equity to, maybe less money up front? Or is it going to be an employee where maybe less equity, but you're giving them a full package? Or is it going to be a contractor with no equity and can basically be on their own, be free to do what they need to do for simply just a small monthly fee?
Yeah, and let's add in another aspect of what you just described there, which is the crowdfunding is getting really, out there where it's getting progressive, where you can actually offer equity shares to someone that's investing. Now, that's different than bringing in the partner because, that's not someone working in your company, but there's so many options that you have to pick and choose and say what works best for me. So once you've gone through that process of, okay, I need to have someone who, and then you got your checklist, how would you recommend someone goes about finding that partner? Because guess what? There's a lot of fear and trepidation in just hiring a salesperson for your firm or a temp employee or an admin clerk. Well, now all of a sudden you're using the P word. Bringing a partner in. That's a lot of it's a lot more serious than just bringing in an employee. So what process did you go through, and what would you recommend in someone approaching that?
So it doesn't happen overnight, and nothing does. But just like you think of your product from day one, I would encourage thinking of your partner from day one. You mentioned about being scared about bringing on the first salesperson. I've been on the business side in technology my whole career, so what typical salespeople do is they siloed off in a company. They're thought of as maybe the loud, obnoxious bunch. They're put at the other side or in another office, right? I made it an effort to get to know every other part of the company, the technology team, who's on the executive team, who's doing customer service, who's building the applications, who's doing our marketing like SEO or SEM at the time. So making sure that I had a good personality to get to know these people, and you'll find out not everyone's like you, and you don't know what people are going through in their day-to-day lives, and they're people, they're humans at the end of the day. I took a lot of time with everyone I've partnered with. I've known them for a long time. I've known them professionally for a long time, but I've done my due diligence over the course of our working together in friendship. And that's the thing. It's not going to happen in a week. It's not going to be like a hire where maybe in 3 weeks we could fill this position. It's something that you won't even know it. It's someone that could be in your everyday life right now that you're not even realizing. And I've been lucky enough to have that experience and being fortunate to be in companies that had quality people on the technology team that we clicked. We had other things outside of work that we connected on, whether it was like riding bikes or sporting events or traveling, just finding other things to really have that connection and getting to know the person beyond even the work. Because it's much like a marriage. You're going to be tied to this person for who knows how long, and differences are going to come up, issues are going to come up, and you got to be able to deal with them. So it's not someone that you could just go and find. Be aware in your everyday life, just like you're as aware as building the product or the business that you want to build. Worry about the team around you. And I say that beyond even just the partners, your employees can be the same case. It might be someone you went to high school with who you reconnected with 10 years later and found out, wow, in the last 10 years, you've gone down this path. You're now a lawyer, whatever. Why don't we reconnect? You can help us build up what we're trying to do here, So there's different ways and different paths. You never know, but always keep that in mind. Just like I said, like you're building your product, you're building your team. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and it makes me think of a book that I've read a couple times, and you might be familiar with it potentially, but Harvey Mackay wrote the book called Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. And the concept is, boy, when your back's against the wall and you need X or whatever you're looking for, that's not the time to go and get that thing. So when you think you need that employee, that partner, and you're just overwhelmed and you need to get them in by next week, next month, that's not the time to do it because you're going to make really rash and maybe not as well-researched decisions. So when you can dig the well before you're thirsty in this respect, you're networking, you're feeding into your social network by giving some, keeping in touch with people, giving advice, serving, and things like that, so that when the need comes up, now you're kind of in the back of your mind going, that person, let me put a little mark by their name, or let me put in my CRM, I'm going to put a potential, strategic alliance, so that you could then follow back up and take it to that next level.
And it's so true. It's every day. It's in your everyday life. It's everywhere you go. It's people from high school, at the gym, people, and again, people you've worked with. So you really understand if is there a complementary skill set. But that's so true. That's the truth.
So let's say that you find that person that you've, pre-vetted and vetted, and okay, this one feels like a fit, and you make that, overture, that offer, hey, let's work together on this, and they're amenable to that. What things from a protection standpoint would you recommend, don't give them half the company, or put in a 90-day clause where we're going to reevaluate whatever, but what are a couple things that you would recommend people to have like as a safety net?
Well, as with everything, situations differ for each and every person. Now, I've unfortunately and fortunately had to deal in a couple of different scenarios. Are you starting this company with this partner from day one, or has that company already existed? Have you already invested $5,000, $10,000, $100,000 of your own dollars into that company over the course of a number of years, and then brought on that partner, right? So there's different ways to kind of look at it. So if you're going out the gate with someone and it's their idea as much as it's yours, and you really think that they can commit the time, if you're going to commit 100% of your work time and they're going to commit 100%, then maybe going 50-50 is the best, because you're not going to face that what if, or that should be mine, or why are you over me down the road. And I've unfortunately been in some of those nasty situations with companies. The other route is, you started something, you invested your own money, you're bringing someone on, and you don't necessarily have the money to pay them a wage, but they want to dedicate time. Well, maybe you need to give them a larger chunk, but not a employee's portion of maybe 1%. You're going to give that person a bigger chunk because they're committing more. And you think of them as being on the executive or founding team. You can always add a co-founder later. I've done that with a few companies. But you really have to think of where they fit and what you can afford. And again, where is the company? Is it in its infancy, or is it a 2-year-old thing that you've put your money and time in? So it really comes down to the scenario and the situation.
Yeah, it really does, and it's almost like marketing. The common response is, well, let's test it. And that really, it feels like a fallback, well, at least answer the question, is this marketing going to work? And you really don't know because it's a different target audience, a different product and service. But in your response there, it really is different given all of those circumstances. And I would just say that the decision should be made with, a lot of caution and hopefully even eyes wide open going in, where both parties can feel like, what if we need to reevaluate this in 6 months? Either side might feel like, it's just not working out. So let's have some of those kind of things. And then definitely I think there needs to be, key performance indicators and metrics that both of them, the sides of the parties are working towards so that they feel like they're holding up their side of the bargain.
Yeah, and something you can do when you bring someone on after you founded a company or started it is always have a cliff of a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, where yes, they might be getting a large percentage, but it's tied to them sticking around for 4 years. So that's another thing you can always do as well.
Yeah, if you're vested, right away, then they could take the money and run, and there's
exactly.
Yeah, that's a great point. Hey, so wrap up with, what's one of the biggest mistakes that you see people make when choosing that partner and how they could avoid that?
Well, a lot of people, they go, I think, first and foremost, get caught up in the equity, in the money, and they don't think, what are my skill sets? Who do I want? You could be in the business side. That person could be in the business side. Where's the technology going to come from? Where's the product going to come from? You guys are so caught in this, and people get caught in the equity and the breakdown so much, and it ruins the opportunity before it even starts. There's fights about that before the business can even get off the ground, before you can build your team, before you can build your product. So I'd say understand your own needs, your own skill set. Then you'll know what you need to build a business, and then go look for that person and worry about what the breakdown is. Because too many founders get caught up in that equity, in that shares early on, and it ruins friendships, it ruins partnerships, and it ruins the potential business ever getting off the ground.
Yeah, it's like a domino effect. It's not like one decision affects one thing. It just has a whole myriad of impacts. So I think that's a huge, huge point. So really enjoyed getting to know you and your business, and that sounds really just wonderful with, legal documents at affordable prices. What's the best way that people can go and learn more about your business?
Just go to the site, LegalNature.com. Everything should be pretty self-explanatory. We've made it very user-friendly in our opinion, easy to get around, easy to navigate, and a lot of good, useful information. A lot of knowledge-based information and content will be coming soon tied to our small businesses. So besides the documents, there's a lot of questions, answers, articles there just to help any small business entrepreneur get their thing going.
Excellent. Well, Corey, thank you so much for your time today. It was wonderful getting to know you.
All right, Mike, thank you.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.